Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, everyone. We're here this morning. I'm excited about what this day will bring. I'm well trained and highly motivated by the task at hand. Yesterday's problems are today's possibilities. Yesterday's obstacles are today's opportunities. I shall not fail. What I lack in skill, I make up with enthusiasm. Victory is my destiny because I'm excited about what this day will bring. All you festival attendees, good morning, everyone. My name is Darren DC Lyons. I am a writer, trainer, coach, and speaker. My company's name is Courier Inc., and I'm here today to talk about my book, With Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife. This is my story of going from a corporate executive to being a below-knee amputee, I also like to introduce myself as being a double below-knee amputee and a dialysis patient with a heart condition and stroke survivor. I'm going to repeat that because it's a lot. Double below-knee amputee, stroke survivor with a heart condition and dialysis patient. And that's what my story is about. My story is about how I transitioned my journey from being a corporate executive, traveling the world, being the global director of customer care for a large retail organization, to becoming a below-knee amputee and going to be a world of disabled. And I mentioned to you that since that time, I've had several other health issues that have shaped my journey. A second below-knee amputation, because after you have one lower extremity amputation because of cardiovascular disease, you're probably going to have another. And then I immediately after my first amputation, I started dialysis about 6 months later because of my kidney function beginning to fail. And then finally, in the summer of 2020, at the height of the pandemic, I had a stroke. And that really challenged me because I had to learn how to walk all over again. And I had to learn how to think differently. And I'm still learning to do that. And as I said before, I had a second amputation about a year after the first one. So that's kind of my journey. But please don't feel sorry for me. Good morning, Zori. Good to hear from you. Because I've learned a lot. And although I would love to have my legs back, I have learned a lot with this second or third phase of my life. And my story is not much different from your story, because everybody goes through something. I call it with worn out tools, navigating the rituals of midlife, because we all get tools. We all get this set of tools when we are born or when we grow up. And sometimes the tools are charm, good looks, personality. Hey, Kathy. But sometimes the tools are wit, patience, all those things. But when we get to midlife, those things start to wear down a little bit, and you have to really sharpen those tools in order to go through that third phase of your life. I like to say it like this: Hollywood is filled with stories about coming of age, and they are celebrated. But midlife has its milestones as well, and not so celebrated. Where coming of age, there's the first kiss, there's the first romance. Thank you, Kathy. There's all these firsts and everything, but midlife has its challenges. There's divorce, which I've experienced that. There is um, change of job, change of career, relocation, and there's always sickness and illness like I have, and sometimes the death of a loved one. But how you come through those things, what you do to survive those things, that determines how you will survive or how you will thrive in that third act of your life. Mid-year, third act of your life, and it's important for me not to go out quietly into that good night. So in 2017, I limped my way into an Oklahoma City emergency room with a wound on my left heel. 2 days later, they amputated my left leg to save my life. Now, you would think that someone who had been a lifelong diabetic, lost a lot of weight, and did so much to get in shape that I would have went right to the hospital, but I didn't. I tried to heal myself. Thank you, Mia. I tried to heal myself. I tried to, you know, hide what was going on and get better on my own. But I waited like 3 weeks before going to the hospital. And unfortunately, I waited too late and they had to amputate my left leg below my knee to save my life. And my book with Worn Out Tools is really about my story. It's about that journey. It's about how I went from being a corporate executive, traveling to the Philippines, Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guyana, and really my life changed and how I made it through that change. And what I really want to, hey, Paul, good to see you. Ha, that's right. Yesterday's problems are the day's possibilities. That's right. It is really my goal to share my story with others, not to brag on how strong I am or how resilient I am, but it's really to talk about my mistakes and hopefully preventing people from making mistakes. As I've shared my story on different podcasts and shared my book on different podcasts, I have been encouraged by people who've taken my story and want to do something different. People who've changed their life, or people who've gone through a similar issue, and people have given my book to other people. Hello, Nicole. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. So with One Out Tools is my story about my journey. But I know that I'm nothing special. The other people have their journey as well. And I've been trying to share a little more about my journey, not just with my book, but with my Roar blog. I've been posting a blog for the last 4 weeks called Roar. And it's Roar is an acronym for the 4 core values in my book: resiliency, resiliency, optimistic humor, accountability, and relationships. I'm gonna repeat that. Hey, Wayne, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Resiliency, optimistic humor, accountability, and relationship. Because what I've learned over the years in my recovery, and it's been about 7 years in my recovery, that you gotta have resiliency to move through. You have to have resiliency to move through, to come back from a setback. And you got to have a little bit of humor because you have to be able to laugh at yourself. And I share like that in my book and also my speaking. And hey, Raul. Hey, Raul, this is a great question. Do you believe humor helps you when going through experiences as yours? Yes, it does. You know, Raul, I'm glad you brought that up. That's that's the O in my ROAR acronym, optimistic humor. And I've learned to laugh. Now, sometimes my laughing is that I just fall a lot. You know, when you have no legs below your knees, you sometimes struggle with balance, and I've fallen in some very unusual places. Like the first time that I left my apartment, my wife and I were going on a drive, and I fell, bam, to the floor, and I had to, as I fell, I saw our neighbors were coming next door, and I reached up and shook their hand, and it's kind of a weird way to meet people. Or the time that I fell in the hospital because I was on the way to a meeting in the hospital, a Toastmasters meeting, and these 20 nursing students picked me up off the ground and got me back on my feet. That actually wasn't that bad. And I found it very funny. Or when I tell people how I lost my legs, you get asked that question a lot. How did you lose your legs? And I used to say, good old fashioned diabetes, nothing sexy. But now I say, I was attacked by a wild pack of chihuahuas, and my ankles are as high up as they can reach. That one always gets them. But I found, Raul, that laughter helps me to move forward, helps me to move forward. Thank you so much for asking that question. Hey, Joyce. Your question is, Joyce says, you've experienced so much. Did you, by chance, feel a tinge of hopelessness? What was the first instance when you had shifted your perspective? That's an excellent question, Joyce, and good to see you. I think you joined yesterday. My mother's name was Joyce, and that brings me a warm feeling just thinking about my mom. So thank you. You know, that's a question I get asked a lot during podcasts and during speeches and meetings. Did you ever feel discouraged? Did you ever feel let down or afraid? And George, I got to tell you, I felt that this morning. Getting up out of bed as a double amputee with no legs, right, with no ankles, and I have to put on my prosthetic legs and stand up and turn and get into my wheelchair because I'm in the wheelchair most days. And that is an effort every day. And every day I am forced with the task of doing that. So yes, it was it is always a struggle to have hope. However, your question was, when was the time I changed my perspective? I got to tell you, when I started after my first amputation, normally read a little passage from the book. It was the first time I was dropped off at the nursing home or skilled nursing facility, and it was a weekend. And imagine there's no staff there, and people are overworked because they're bringing in people, and they use this. It's called the Hoyer lift to lift me from my gurney to my bed. It's quiet. The room is kind of industrial, center block room. And I feel as lonely as I've ever felt, Joyce, as lonely as I've ever felt. And I'm discouraged. And I look across the room and I see my prosthetic leg. Now, mind you, I'd had my prosthetic leg for like 4 months, and I gained so much fluid from my bad kidneys that I couldn't even stand on my prosthetic legs. What I like to say is desperation is a strong motivator. And at this moment, when I was feeling my lowest, I felt my most motivated as well. So I used a slide board to go from my bed to my wheelchair. I rolled across the room to get to my prosthetic leg. I put it on, and then I rolled back to my bed and stood between my bed and my wheelchair. and I stood up on my prosthetic leg, my left prosthetic leg, for the very first time in my own power. And that is when I decided and changed my perspective. That's when I had the idea to fight, fight, fight. I was not going to go quietly until good night. And that's when I believed, first believed that I would make it back. That's when I first believed that I could do something with my life. I got to tell you, since that moment or since that time, I've had the opportunity to do some incredible things that I'm proud of, but not so much proud of because I'm special, but proud of because I'm a fighter. The first thing is I start to write a book. My first book was A Day in the Life in a Skilled Nursing Facility. The story of a young man trapped in a nursing home, because that's what a skilled nursing facility is, a nursing home. And then my second book, With Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife. But also, thank you, James, for the question. I know it's been difficult to go through all that during the pandemic. Absolutely, absolutely, because I was quarantined during the pandemic. If you were here in the States, you know you were quarantined some of that time, and so I hadn't really visitors. My wife, who I talk about in my book, the most important relationship I have, she used to visit me through the window because she couldn't come into the skilled nursing facility because it was a pandemic. So no human contact for, I guess, weeks, and it was difficult. It was difficult, especially since I had to learn how to walk again. But as I was saying before, thank you for the question. But as I was saying before, it is a struggle. Since the time of kind of my new attitude, I've had a chance to have 20 coaching clients, executive coaching clients in 4 different countries. As I mentioned, I've written 2 books. And I've also trained over 650 executives in the color code personality assessment. That's kind of the way that I run my business. I have a training, coaching, speaking, and writing business. And I'm hoping that I will be able to grow my speaking business and share my story with people all over the world. I used to travel all over the world in my former role as the director of global customer care. And now, the world travels to me. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. And I feel very, very fortunate. I do. Hey, Robert, resiliency is about embracing failure as a learning opportunity and using a setback as fuel for growth. You're amazing there. Hey, listen, thank you, Robert. But like I said, I'm nothing special. I just kind of refuse to die. And you're right. Resiliency is about using failure, because failure isn't final, right? Failure, there's always a lesson and there's always a way out. And if you look forward and if you keep fighting, you'll do that. There's a quote by Teddy Roosevelt, or a poem, a speech by Teddy Roosevelt, that talks about being the man in the arena. And that's why I look at myself. Every day I'm thankful to have another day in the arena. And although you're going to have a tough day, a tough fight, you know that if you hold on long enough, you will be able to move through. And I'm thankful for that. I had a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, who had a below knee amputation the same time as I had mine, same February 2017. And he, unfortunately, has passed away. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that he didn't have hope, that he lost hope. He didn't have, I'm blessed to have a beautiful wife. I'm blessed to have 5 beautiful grandchildren and 2 stepdaughters. And I'm blessed to have wonderful relationships in my life. And the R is the 4th letter of the acronym ROAR: resiliency, optimistic humor, accountability, and relationship. And I got to tell you, if it wasn't for my relationships, for my wonderful wife, for my pastor, for my frat brothers, for my friends, for my family, for my grandchildren, I never would have got out of bed. And my book, With Worn Out Tools, is dedicated to my 3 grandchildren. Only had 3 at the time. Now I have 5. And even living these 7 years allowed me to meet my 2 additional grandchildren. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. That's a meaningful acronym. Thank you. How do you apply those in your life? Do you think they're only suitable for dire experiences? Now, that's a great question. I have to think a little bit about that. I apply them in my life, as I said, just having the resiliency to get up every day. It is such a strain to get up every day, or to go to a new place, or to embrace the experiences that God may have for me, even in my condition. So that I do that, and I gotta tell you, the humor part. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens, like the time at church when I fell coming out of church. I had spoke at church and I felt good about myself, but then I thought about the Bible says a pride coming before the fall. So I shared that and I had to laugh. And with accountability, I think about the fact that I need to drive and do things to build a legacy for my children's children. Right? If I'm a good man, I should leave a legacy for my children's children. And then relationships, I bask in the relationships I have and whatever time I get with people. It helps me because I am coming back from a setback, but it can definitely help you in your everyday life as well. Resiliency, optimistic humor, accountability, and relationships. And I call it optimistic humor because I don't kind of believe in that cruel humor. I believe you got to have fun and laugh. Laughing is a worn out tool. Cassandra, welcome Cassandra, says it does pay to turn humor, especially on things we can't control. We can't do anything to change them better. Find amusement in the ruminate. Well said, Cassandra. I couldn't say it better myself. My book with worn out tools, navigating rituals of midlife, is I like to say you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, and be inspired as you take this journey with me. I believe that it's for all the situations. And you don't have to be an amputee to benefit from the book. You don't have to be an amputee to benefit from my experiences, but learn from my mistakes and also find your roar to move forward. And my name being DC Lyons, Lyons with a Y instead of an I, that acronym means a lot to me because I need to roar. I'm not going quietly into that good night. I'm going to make noise. I'm going to roar. Nicole says, in light of all the difficulties and problems you've encountered, what's the most important advice you can provide to everyone? I'm so glad you asked that. One of the things I've learned as I've recovered from my 2 below-knee amputations and my dialysis, stroke, and having a heart condition, I have to be an advocate for my own health. As a man, I'm like any other man. We don't want to go to the doctor for anything. Maybe not even men. People don't want to go to the doctor. They're fearful. But I've learned you have to be an advocate for your own health. You have to ask questions. You have to communicate with your doctor. And even though sometimes they don't want to talk to you and they want you to just accept what they want to, ask questions. Understand. What's that pill you're giving me? Why are we doing that? What was the measurement of my cholesterol? What was the measurement of my condition? Has it improved? So challenge them. Challenge them. The dialogue that you have with your doctor, it can't be just friendly. It has to be challenging. It has to be challenging. Follow up. Ask questions. That's the most important thing I can share with you all, because as I've met doctors, I've met some that were good, very good. As I met therapists, some that are very good, and some who are very overworked, and they might have a good intention when they first got into the medical field, but that's kind of faded. So you have to test it. You have to challenge it. That is my most important lesson. Thanks, Zuri. Thanks, Zuri. Absolutely. Absolutely, Zuri. I do find hope. I look at hope as a reservoir. And you have to dip into it. And every time you dip into it, you're amazed that hope is there. There was an old saying that hope springs eternal. And I've been amazed that every time I've dipped into hope, there's been a little hope left. Sometimes just a little bit of hope left. And faith. And I'm not sure what your beliefs are or your connection with a higher being, but my Bible says if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And mustard seed is some of the smallest seeds in nature. However, it sprouts mighty big plants. And I'm so glad that the Bible didn't say you had the faith of an avocado seed, because avocado seeds are like this big. Because if I had to have that, I'd be out of luck, man. Um, Once again, my book is available. My book is available on BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and also on anywhere books are sold, both in electronic form and in paperback. So only about 105 pages. People have told me it's the first book they've read all the way through since college. With worn out tools, navigating the rituals of midlife. I want to thank everyone who joined. Everyone. Oh, it's another question from Chloe. What small change in your lifestyle do you think has a significant impact in your perspective or life in general? You know, there have been so many changes, but I have strengthened my prayer life. I have created a ritual every day of certain things I do every day. I did that in my nursing home. There was a specific way I went about my day, adding in time to reflect, adding in time for myself, time to grow. I've started to plan my day and plan my week. And the more I do that, the more I move things forward. My business moves forward. The more I plan, the more I spend time, and I have a strategy for my week and my day. The more I move my business forward, and the more my life improves. Wow, a lot of questions. After going through everything, have you ever asked yourself, why me? How do you think this question influences your perspective about life? Great question. Selma from Selma. Thank you for the question. You know, Selma, I originally had those questions, but my Bible says that the rain falls on the just and the unjust. And as I've come to say, I'm nothing special. This is my path. This is my journey. And I like to say that I hope the legacy I leave for my grandkids, my 5 grandkids, is that Grandpa lived a better life after his amputations, after his illnesses, after everything he went through. And that's what I'm living for. And if I hold on and if I fight, I'll make it to that. I'll make it to that better life I'm trying to create. So, although I want to be honest, Selma, I wish I had my legs. I used to love the feeling of toes between my sand between my toes, and I'll never feel that again. However, there might be something better coming, something to be more excited about. Oh, we're coming down to our last couple minutes. Billy says, we appreciate you sharing your story with us, which offers inspirational advice on overcoming life's many obstacles. Thank you, Billy. It's available with Worn Out Tools, Navigating the Rituals of Midlife. It's available everywhere where books are sold with Worn Out Tools. Thank you for attending. Thank you to Reader's Magnet, where they share our stories with the world. I'll be live again on Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern or 3 o'clock Eastern. Thank you all.